Today, I want to take a closer look at Tesla. The stock price is down roughly 10% after the company gave some unimpressive earnings. I'm not going to do a earnings video. There's pretty much tons of those floating around YouTube at the moment. What I really want to do is just focus on its AI endeavors. And luckily for investors, the company did share a lot of great information during the earnings call and the earnings presentation. So let's take a closer look in today's episode. But before we get started, I am curious from you, the viewers, are you purchasing Tesla at these price points? Like I mentioned, the stock is down almost 10%, sitting at $262. Year to date, the stock has definitely run up, is up roughly 143% year to date, sitting at a market cap of roughly 823 billion. So like I mentioned, today I really want to take a closer look at their AI push, more importantly their Dojo chip and their Dojo system. So for those that are not familiar, Tesla creates their own semiconductor solutions. They've created their own chip, which is the Dojo chip, which is used to build AI training to power their Dojo system. Their Dojo system is going to be a supercomputer that's going to help them kind of solve this autonomous driving problem that they're seeing, right? So, like I mentioned, one of the great things about Tesla is I really enjoy when a tech company does a lot of everything. And we can see Tesla, they create their own systems, they create their own software, even their own supercomputers, even their own neural networks. All right, so if we take a closer look at Tesla's presentation, they always have a slide about their core technology. And in the first portion, they're talking about their artificial intelligence software and hardware. And they do mention that pretty much to solve vehicle autonomy at scale, they need four main technologies. And they're all extremely difficult to kind of solve. The first is to have a huge amount of data set. The second is neural net training, the third is vehicle hardware, and the fourth is vehicle software. They do mention that they're developing all four pillars in-house, and this month they're taking a huge step by making neural net training cheaper with the start production of their Dojo training computer. And if we take a closer look, we can see kind of the first thing, which is your data set. And the data set is super important. How they're doing this data set is through the cumulative miles driven with FSD beta. And we can see that the overall amount of data collected has jumped dramatically. I mean, we can see starting in March of 2023, this kind of grew exponentially. And I do believe this is why Tesla is really focusing more on volume sales in their vehicles opposed to optimizing margins, because the more vehicles that they have, the more data that they will collect, and that data to some extent will be priceless. So we can see right now, sitting around May and June of 2023, he has over 300 million miles driven in FSD beta. And if we take a closer look at the earnings transcript, Elon talks a little bit more about the training data set. And he pretty much mentions that, hey, the training data set grows exponentially with the amount of data that is driven throughout this neural net solution, right? They do mention, for example, in their neural network, starting with a few million data points, the solution barely works at roughly 2 million. He mentioned it slightly works at 3 million, and it's like, wow, okay, we're seeing something as you continue to improve. So then when you start to get like 10 million training example, it becomes incredible. So there's just no substitute for the massive amount of data. And he even goes on to say that one of the great things of Tesla right now is even if you had multi-billions of dollars and you even had their software solutions and their hardware solutions, if you did not have their training data, then you pretty much have worthless hardware, because at the end of the day, you need to have all three: the software, the hardware, and the training data. Taking a closer look at this chart right here, we can kind of see the cumulative miles. Elon believes that this is going to grow exponentially. He mentions here in the earnings call that right now they have over 300 million miles driven using FSD beta. That 300 million mile number is going to seem small very quickly. It will soon be billions of miles and 10 billions of miles. And that's when FSD will go from being as good as a human to then being vastly better than a human. So again, this is why Tesla is really trying to kind of grow in that volume production of their vehicles so they can collect as much data. I do believe we're going to continue to see this huge exponential growth in their data sets every single earnings, and the amount of growth that we're going to start to see from their FSD products is going to increase dramatically within a year's time. The great thing about this data is similar data like this can be used for some of Tesla's other AI endeavors, like the most popular right now, their Optimus robot or the Tesla bot. So one of the great things about Tesla is at the moment it's definitely an automobile company. But for the future growth, this is definitely a company that's going to be growing thanks to its AI endeavors if it's going in the right direction. So we took a look at the first kind of pillar that they were talking about, and that is the large real world data set. Now the second one is the other one we're going to talk about, and that is their neural net training. Training these solutions is very expensive, and that's why Tesla ended up creating their Dojo training computer, which was a cheaper way to optimize and design a supercomputer that's meant to train their data. And their data is very interesting, right? They're collecting these X second clips of videos on their vehicles, and they're training with those video clips. Training on video is very expensive and difficult for the following reason. The main reason is opposed to text, where text you have just, I want to say, just one form of input. In a video, you have numerous items all over the place. You have different things to kind of vary from vehicle speed to maybe weather to temperature to visibility to any random objects to speed limit, and the list goes on, right? So a 10-second video might seem like only 10 seconds to us, but to kind of train from that 10-second video, you need to grab so many information in every frame that I do believe that is going to get super expensive, and why Tesla has kind of created their Dojo training computer. We are here.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
Right now, they did mention that here in July 2023, this is the start of the Dojo production. Tesla believes by January or February of 2024, so roughly 6 to 7 months from now, their Dojo will be the top 5 supercomputer in the entire world. That's pretty insane. And they do believe by October of 2024, this Tesla supercomputer will have roughly 100 exaflops of power. I think that is insane. If it can really go up to that, that's something that we're going to have to see. But regardless, we do see that the Tesla is really great at kind of creating these supercomputers. I'm super excited to see where this Dojo production is going to go. Tesla also mentions that, hey, even though we have our own supercomputers, we're also using the best of the best. They do have a few Nvidia supercomputers. We do have this picture from Tim Sam, who is one of the, I believe, an engineer there at Tesla, where he kind of showed a recently upgraded version of their GPU supercomputer that has 7,360 A100 GPUs, making it a top 7 by GPU supercomputer. This was posted on August 12th of 2022, almost a year later. So we do. So Tesla most likely is also building H100 GPU supercomputers as well. So throughout the earnings call, they do mention that, hey, even though we have Dojo, we are also going to be using Nvidia's hardware for their own supercomputer solutions as well. While we're here in talking about Nvidia, the company did showcase a little bit more about their relationship with Nvidia. They mentioned that they are using a lot of Nvidia hardware, and they actually take Nvidia hardware as fast as Nvidia can deliver it to us. Unfortunately, right, Nvidia has too much demand and not enough supply. Another thing that Tesla mentioned is if in theory, Nvidia could deliver them with enough GPUs, there might not be a need for Dojo. So I think that's pretty impressive, but it also shows the smartness that Tesla kind of did by creating their own semiconductor solution. Because creating their own semiconductor solution, they are not at the heels of Nvidia, for example. Nvidia has numerous customers that they need to kind of please. Tesla might be a top customer, but they also have other cloud serving provider giants like Microsoft, like Meta, like Amazon, like Google, that are paying tons and tons of money for these H100s. So Tesla doesn't want to be the bottom of the line, right? They want to be the top of the line, and the only way you can be the top player of your own silicon production is by being your own designer. So I do believe Tesla did the smart move by creating their own silicon, and it's showcasing right here. Another thing I really did enjoy during the earnings call is right now we are in this AI craze, right? And everybody believes that since everybody's doing AI, then this is kind of going to break the moat of Tesla, right? If Tesla is such a huge AI company now that every other company is doing AI, then maybe Tesla is not worth as much. But Elon Musk mentions that, hey, in order to copy them, you need to spend billions of dollars on training compute. I mean, it's also hard. You need the data and you need the training computer. And he does go on to say that, hey, look, a lot of companies are doing large language models at the moment, but he mentions that that's very easy, because if they're doing large language models, why can't they make a self-driving car? And the real reason is because that's hard within itself. I think that's just a great reminder that's showcasing that, hey, even though AI is still AI has become so popular, is still in early innings, that there's so many different kind of AI solutions, and one doesn't kind of correlate to the other. If a company is doing such a great move with things like large language models, we see Microsoft and Google doing it. They're not. It doesn't necessarily mean that they would be good at creating an AI solution that would be good for self-driving vehicles, right? So that's something to keep in mind, and this is a problem that Tesla is trying to solve. Tesla also did mention that, hey, look, they have created the Super Dojo supercomputer, and while right now it's being used or is desperately needed for video training, Elon does have other applications for this Dojo supercomputer. I do believe it's going to be super interesting to see where their silicon devices takes them and how it's going to grow as an AI company. So I think those were the major points that Tesla talked about focusing in the AI market. Like I said, I am a small investor of Tesla. It's not a big position in my portfolio, but I do believe this is a company that's not an automaker company, right? Obviously, right now, looking at its valuation and looking at the current numbers, it's heavily dependent on its automobile space. But for me, I'm looking and investing in Tesla with the growth opportunity of its AI endeavors. And I do believe that AI endeavors is really going to be driven by the amount of technology that they're innovating, especially in the semiconductor market. Tesla at the moment is not a company that I have purchased recently. I was focusing in other semiconductor players instead. But now that I'm kind of cooling off into the semiconductor market, I want to start to see if Tesla might make it on my buy list. Obviously, this is a company that has run up a nice amount, so it's not a company I would buy a lot right away. Maybe do small dollar cost averaging. I do want to hear from you, the viewers, though. What are your thoughts on Tesla, current valuations? Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you waiting for a more deep correction that this company can see? So take care, have a good day, and see you next time.